Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this evening, Cameron McCord. Cameron is a senior at MIT majoring in nuclear science and engineering and physics. He is one of 54 students in the United States who are awarded a Harry S. Truman Scholarship, which provides funding for graduate school study for students committed to careers in government or other public service. Cameron is the commander of MIT's Navy ROTC battalion, which includes all Navy midshipmen from Harvard, MIT, and Tufts. He was selected to be a member of the Gordon MIT Engineering Leadership Program, which is MIT's special program to transform engineering leadership in the nation. He is also a 4-year member of MIT's varsity soccer team and the Phi Sigma Kappa fraternity. He worked directly for one of the commissioners of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission during the Fukushima crisis, and has also worked at the Department of Energy on nuclear security issues and at the Brookhaven National Laboratory on nuclear risk assessment issues. He will be commissioned at graduation as a Navy ensign and hopes to serve on board a fast attack submarine. He also plans to pursue a career in nuclear energy safety. The title of Cameron's talk today is Soldier Scholars, ROTC at MIT. Friends and family, please welcome Cameron McCord.
This is the person that I question every single day. And so is this. My name is Cameron McCord, and I am the battalion commander of Navy ROTC here at MIT. Many of us, over our 4-year career at MIT, will find a time where we really question the decision that we have made to join the military. And in that doubt is ROTC's strength. MIT exposes us to many new and unique experiences while we're here. And those experiences allow us to grow and learn and change. These experiences at school shape the way that we think about the world and how we decide what we want to do and devote our lives to. Having friends and peers working at places so amazing such as Google, Facebook, McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, NIH, Apple, and everywhere in between, we often feel pressured to reevaluate and reassess the decisions that we have made. Somehow we feel like we are wasting our natural talent. Somehow we feel like we are not taking advantage of the amazing opportunity we've been given to study and learn at a place like MIT. Somehow we're not living up to our potential. And while we may never talk about it, we may never show it, we might even laugh it off, we are thinking about it. President Woodrow Wilson spoke to that doubt. He said, "You are not here merely to make a living. You are here to enable the world to live. With a finer spirit of hope and achievement, you impoverish yourself if you forget that errand." Now, I know that the military is certainly not for everyone, and I hope that midshipmen here at MIT and ROTC and across the country will constantly reevaluate and reassess the decision they've made to embark upon the path that they have chosen. It will make the people that decide that ROTC is not for them a lot happier in the end, trust me. But more importantly, it will make the people who decide that ROTC and the military is worth it that much more resolute and that much more devoted to being the caliber of military officer that America needs so desperately. For me, one of the greatest benefits of ROTC has been the ability to go on adventures and have experiences that I never otherwise would have had the opportunity to go on. Last summer, I got to go on a fast attack submarine out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I got to sit on top of a submarine in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and watch the sunrise. I got to fly a T-34 training jet, doing backflips, barrel rolls, and aileron rolls. It was pretty cool. I got to hike to the top of Mount Halla Mountain in South Korea with some of the finest South Korean Marines. And I got to stand and look out over the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Now I know there will be opportunities for high-paying jobs and careers later on. For me, right now, there is comfort in knowing that I am doing what I believe I should be doing to repay a debt that I owe to my country. Scholarships, stipends, and loans are how most of us in ROTC will pay our college tuition. I'll never forget when I was awarded this ROTC scholarship check at my high school awards assembly. Seriously, this check is a little bit ridiculous. I remember when I got it, I felt like I had just won the PGA Tour, but I assure you, I am terrible at golfing. But nevertheless, I was proud. I was proud, but I was also shocked. Shocked at some of the reactions that I got from my friends. Things like, why, Cameron? Was the dominant reaction, interspersed with things like, Cameron, college is supposed to be fun, and Cam, college is supposed to be your time. And I wrestled with the reason that now defines the decision every time that question resurfaces. Why did I join the Navy? Because I thought you were worth it. And so, I became a soldier, someone who will repay that giant ROTC check proudly, someone who wrote a check back to the United States of America for a value up to and including my life. Now this kid is at the USS Constitution Museum in Charlestown, Massachusetts. Maybe one day this kid will think that I'm worth it. Maybe one day this kid will think that I am worth the extra ROTC pre-dawn training, the extra ROTC coursework, the extra leadership labs. Maybe one day this kid will think that I am worth the courage to pack a sea bag and go wherever you are sent. President Kennedy said, "The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose is the path of surrender or submission." For me, I feel like I'm already starting to pay that cost of freedom. When I wake up in the morning at 04:50, my body feels the toll. It's off to a morning of physical training, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, sprints, and squats. I head off to take a quick shower, put on my Navy khaki uniform. I check to make sure my ribbons and my insignia are squared away. I look to make sure my creases are crisp. I head off to my first ROTC class on navigation, and I battle to make space in my head for information that I know might one day save my life. All the while struggling to keep important quantum mechanics formulas in my head for the test that I have in just under an hour. And as I leave the ROTC class, I run into some of my friends with big cups of coffee, still looking groggy, complaining about their 9 a.m. class. And I think, hell, I've been up for over 4 hours. It's off to a full day of class and tests, followed by soccer practice, my body already sore from the morning. And again, it's a quick shower, and I carefully put back on my Navy khaki uniform. I head to the student center, and I politely tell my friends, "No, don't worry about me. I'll catch up. It's fine." Navy midshipmen are not allowed to eat and walk in uniform. And for some, that might just be a nuisance. But for me, it means honoring a uniform that has been worn by countless men and women before me. I find a table, and I carefully stuff my face. After I brush my mouth off, I head off to a review session to work on a problem set, to study for a test, to practice a presentation. I meet with an ROTC freshman to provide some counseling or mentoring, and I start planning the ROTC activities for the upcoming week. I quietly sigh to myself as I glance at my watch and I realize I have just over 4 hours before I have to be up and awake to do it all over again. And I love it, just as much as I loved my experience last summer aboard my submarine in Hawaii. Imagine a steel tube with an operating nuclear reactor, 1,000 feet below the surface of the ocean, icy cold water, a submarine silently submerged off an unnamed and unfriendly coast, sleeping 3 feet away from a nuclear ballistic missile. It was amazing. I wish to have no connection with any ship that does not sail fast, for I intend to go into harm's way. Suddenly, John Paul Jones and I had no doubts and no questions about my commitment to the Navy and my commitment to ROTC. Until, that is, I worked a civilian internship completely separate from the Navy at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Through my non-Navy internships and experiences, I've learned that I love public service and public policy. Last April, a tsunami struck Japan and devastated the nuclear reactors at Fukushima. My first day on the job, the world was still riveted in technology in crisis. I was thrilled to be invited to the Senate hearing on Fukushima. If you look very closely, you can see me in the back left, paying close attention. And no, as a disclaimer, I am not a member of Greenpeace, and I am not a member of the Nuclear Never Safe movement. But I can assure you that it was a very interesting Senate hearing. The heat in the room matched the heat of the cameras and the flashbulbs as politicians debated public policy and nuclear safety issues. I welcomed the informality that I experienced that entire summer. I didn't have to call anyone sir or ma'am. I didn't salute. People wanted to talk to me solely about MIT and nuclear engineering. People welcomed me with open arms to talk about policy decisions. After this hearing, I had lunch with 2 senators, just them, just me, as they animatedly and passionately continued their policy discussion. And to me, this experience was just as amazing as my experience the summer before on a nuclear submarine. Many of us in ROTC have to make difficult decisions every single summer. Sometimes we're lucky enough to win coveted civilian internships that we often have to forfeit or cut short because of our mandatory Navy summer commitments. We turn down offers to work at venture capital firms, asset management companies, banks, and technology startups. We see friends amass small fortunes and have the ability to work at the new up-and-coming IT company. Now, after my experience aboard my fast attack submarine, and separately as a civilian at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, I was torn. I was torn between the Navy that I loved and between being a civilian working in public policy. I was torn between the soldier that that I felt like I was becoming, and between the scholar that I thought I already was. I felt like the world was telling me that I had to decide, that I could not do both. I could not be both a member of the Navy and also pursue my academic interests and passions. I rest assured knowing that I was not by any means the first person to feel this way. Over 2,500 years ago, a very wise man by the name of Thucydides, the author of the Peloponnesian Wars, spoke to my emotions, spoke to this confliction and to its strengths. He said that a nation that makes a great distinction between its scholars and its warriors will have its laws made by cowards and its wars fought by fools. Now, the soldier scholars that Thucydides talks about must have been awfully tired. I still struggle sometimes with a sense of failure at being spread too thin. I still struggle when it seems like the world is telling me that I have to decide who I want to be. Midshipman McCord or Cameron? But I hope that all of us in ROTC here at MIT will have struggled with this question and will have come to the realization that we can be both. We can be both a soldier, a patriot, a defender, and we can be a scholar, a student, and let's be honest, a nerd. I'm still impatient sometimes when my schedule demands that my two worlds collide. I used to think that ROTC would make me so busy that I would meet myself coming and going. I used to worry that ROTC would make me decide who I wanted to be. But as it turns out, what I've learned is that ROTC is how I met the man that I strive to be. Thank you.